President Obama is seeking a $2.2 trillion increase in the national debt limit. Some in Congress are calling for spending reductions to balance out that increase. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Comcast Newsmakers. I'm Candace Kelly, and joining me is Representative Pete Olson, Republican from Texas. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you for having me, Candace.
Now, certainly this is on everybody's mind, especially with this whole idea of whether or not people will receive their disability, veterans, Social Security checks. I know that you think that there is a better approach than what the president is doing right now, and I'm wondering what you think about his approach so far.
Well, yes, ma'am. A couple of points on his approach so far. As you mentioned, we've got a $14.3 trillion national debt, which is set to, exceed our limit on August 2nd, if you believe the administration. The president asked for a $2.2 trillion increase in that debt limit. And I'm not going to support that unless he accompanies that with at least $2.2 trillion in savings and cuts and no tax increases on any American.
Right. So what about the approach can be changed in order to work something out? What is more viable at this point?
Well, we need the president to lead. I mean, the president, unfortunately, there was some reports yesterday about he made some comments about Social Security and our beneficiaries not getting their checks on August 3rd. And unfortunately, the president's demagoguing. I'm unconvinced that our beneficiaries aren't going to get their checks. And the president, in his own words, said, I cannot guarantee that the checks will be sent out. So he realizes that he doesn't know what's going to happen. And for him to be up there making political points when we need his leadership to solve this crisis is just, it's very frustrating.
Now, some would say there has been leadership. There have been behind doors, closed meetings to figure this out, day 3, 4, 5. A lot has been going on in terms of discussing. So what should be added to that? And if you could give us a little insight about what goes behind those closed doors, because we just don't know.
Well, I only know what's been briefed to us from our leaders, and we have a very unified Republican conference. I mean, all of us are standing together to, again, make sure that we have at least $2.2 trillion in savings and cuts if we're going to give this a debt limit extension, and that there are going to be no tax increases. The president, did not propose in his budget that came out in February anything to tackle these entitlement programs. Senator Reid is not going to do it in the Senate. The Senate has gone over 800 days without passing a budget. We, House Republicans, stood up. In March, we passed a budget, March-April time frame that was going to take $6.2 trillion, reduce our national debt by that limit over a 10-year period. Again, we're asking for the president to lead, not the demagogue on what may happen with Social Security payments that he doesn't even know the answer to.
So the spending reductions, talk to me about that, where that fits into this whole puzzle.
That's the most important thing, because these programs we have, particularly entitlement programs, Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, they're not sustainable. They're fiscally not sustainable. And we realize that, the American people realize that, and they elected us in November, I believe, to make some changes. And we are changing Medicare to save it. I mean, again, more demagoguery. Republicans are trying to kill Medicare. We are not trying to kill it. It's not going to survive fiscally. And we have put a proposal together that will save it. Again, we need leadership out of our president. We need leadership out of Harry Reid, and stand up for the American people and make sure that this tremendous crisis we're going through is resolved, so we don't destroy the promises we made to these people. We are fighting. Republicans are fighting to make sure that we keep our promises. And again, what we're getting is just demagoguery and politics out of the administration. It's very frustrating to me.
Now, if push does come to shove, what is the worst that can happen? Because there is the potential that something could happen that is bad in terms of the Social Security checks. I know you don't think that can happen, and you can't really foresee the future, but if push comes to shove, what is the worst?
I'm not sure. I mean, we've never been down this road before. But again, it's just frustrating me. I mean, I'm not convinced, as I said earlier, that these Social Security checks aren't going to go out. The president's not convinced, but he gets up uses that bully pulpit and scares seniors. And we can't have that. We've got to have a serious debate, and he knows that tax increases aren't going to be part of anything that's going to get through the House of Representatives. He has to sit down, listen to the American people, and respect their wishes.
All right. Well, certainly more to come on this, of course, and hopefully we'll have you back for an update with this. Thanks so much for being with us today.
Thanks so much for having me.
Certainly, and thank you for joining us for this edition of Comcast Newsmakers. I'm Candace Kelly.